A huge roar of approval for Nick Cates, for Nicola Airy, and now for Britain's first astronaut, Helen Sharman, who is assigned the honour of lighting the flame. And what a fantastic few weeks it's been for the girl from Green Hill in Sheffield. Her parents are here, perhaps the proudest of all in this 25,000 crowd, and a moment, an awful moment, because the flame has gone out. Helen Sharman.
With the World Cup coming to an end, it's safe to say that sports are on the mind of a large portion of the global population. Sport is a pretty old concept that's been around since pretty much the dawn of civilization, and when you talk about sports, you can't help but think about the most important sporting event of them all, the Summer Olympics. The first modern Olympic Games were held in Athens, Greece, with only 14 countries participating. However, the Olympic Games started way before that in ancient Greece. This wasn't really a modern Olympics as we know it, but more of a sort of religious festival. However, they did have some pretty funky sports that would honestly spice up the Olympics quite a bit. One of the old ancient sports was ancient Greek boxing, which was pretty much just a really fucking metal version of modern boxing. It consisted of wrapping up ox hide around your fists and beating the shit out of your opponent until he gave up or was incapacitated. Now, I know this sounds pretty similar to modern boxing, but there were some key changes and differences, like the fact that there were no time limits or rounds, so you literally just beat the shit out of each other until one gave up, or was beat within an inch of his life. This was, due to the fact that you could beat the shit out of each other, even if they're on the floor without consequence. There were also no weight classes, so you could literally have someone as big as The Rock fighting Danny DeVito. To top it all off, the rules were enforced by judges by beating or whipping offenders. All in all, it was a pretty fucking brutal boxing match that occurred in every ancient Olympic game. Alright, let's be honest guys, there are some pretty silly sports in the Summer Olympics. That's right, I'm looking at you, equestrian dressage. Dressage consists of a bunch of tarts prancing around on a horse, not really doing an awful lot, and not really doing an awful lot of sport. I mean, the only people who actually give a shit about this are people who either own a horse or wish they own a horse, so watch this event so they can pretend that they're part of the elite horse club. I'd say that we don't completely get rid of this sport, but instead take it back to its ancient Greek roots in the form of chariot racing. I mean, come on, a bunch of blokes or blokettes riding around some war chariots inside the hippodrome is pretty fucking badass. And it was actually the equivalent of modern day football in the Roman and Byzantine Empire days. If we did replace this boring dressage with badass chariot racing, I don't think many people would care, and I know for one that I would definitely tune in to watch some badass horse racing with a bit of a Roman twist. Alright, to wrap it all up, I'm going to talk about one more old sport. This one's called the hoplitodromus, which roughly translates to race of soldiers, which sums it up pretty well. This one consisted of a bunch of guys running naked, apart from a pair of greaves and a helmet, whilst also carrying a shield. While this does seem kind of funny, it did serve a purpose back in the old ancient Greek times, as it was a training exercise for Greek infantrymen who were rushing Persian archers, typically over 400 metres, which was also the distance they had to run in the Olympics. This meant that it wasn't really an endurance sport, but more of a test of strength. Now, I want this one back because, can you imagine it today? A bunch of servicemen running in full body armour, carrying big fuck-off rifles around in an Olympic stadium. I think it would be pretty entertaining, and would actually provide some servicemen with much needed running training in full body armour. I mean, the North Korean soldiers need all the practice they can get running in full gear when they try and defect through the DMZ. Alright, there we have it. A few sports which I think should make a comeback, mostly because the Olympics need a bit of spicing up. I mean, who the fuck wants to watch synchronised swimming over some badass boxing? Anyway, on that note, if you had the power, what would you want to introduce to the Olympics? I want some detailed explanations on why you would obviously want trumpeting to make a comeback in the Olympics. Or maybe if you come up with some other sport, you could, write a comment telling me why it should be in the Olympics. Don't forget to subscribe for more niche videos on topics nobody cares about, and stay tuned for the next video.